A seed library is a place where people can borrow seeds, they can donate seeds. It's pretty much like a book library, really. Yeah, same principle. You can go into the book library and borrow a book, read it, and then take it back. So with the seeds, you can borrow the seeds, you plant them, you grow them, and because all of our seeds are for edibles, you can eat them as well. And then hopefully you'll be able to save some seeds at the end of the season and then donate them back to the library. So the library actually grows in size, and everybody kind of has a good time along the way.
Yeah, yeah. As you say, you've always got something to eat.
Yeah.
So the question is, why do we need seed libraries? Main reasons really are we're losing diversity in our seed population year by year. Over the past century, we've lost hundreds and hundreds of different varieties of open pollinated seeds because they've been replaced by F1 hybrids. F1 hybrids, if you save the seeds, you're just not going to get the plant that you started with. So we need to emphasise that we're saving open pollinated seeds. We're also saving seeds because seeds do adapt to their local environment. Over the years they get stronger and stronger because they adapt to the climate. And with climate change, it's something that we need to take into serious consideration.
Totally.
But also, we're fighting agribusiness, who are systematically trying to patent seeds so that they're trying to make it illegal for people to save the seeds. So we're up against two big battles here, and the only way to fight it is for individuals to continue to save seeds and maintain our diversity. Put the seeds into the hands of many rather than few, which is a key factor.
And that's what can happen here, because we've got, I don't know, about 180 odd members now, and everyone has the opportunity to save seeds, and that makes it a huge diverse resource of some incredible seeds that you might not even be able to get anywhere else as well, which is a good thing.
Well, so the thing is that seed catalogues used to be local seed catalogues. They weren't national or international seed catalogues. And this is why we've lost a lot of local varieties, because the seeds that are in catalogues now are grown in one area, and there's no guarantee that the climate that they're grown in is going to be appropriate for the climate you're going to plant them in. So the loss of local seed catalogues means we've lost a whole range. I think we've lost hundreds and hundreds of varieties of cabbages, for example, and peas, which were local varieties that were adapted to our area.
Yeah, I mean it's quite a worrying thing, because a lot of the seeds that are now in catalogues are basically bred specifically for commercial growers. Now, a lot of the people in our seed library are either back garden seed savers, or they might be smallholders, and some of these seeds don't work well for them. It's like peas, for instance, isn't it? When you might want an ongoing crop of peas, which is really important because that same plant will keep cropping for you. Whereas the commercial growers want them all to ripen all at the same time so they can take the crop off the field, and then that's it, and their job is done with the peas. Whereas we want them going all the way through the year. So there's differences in needs here, and we're trying to underpin that as well.
And the other thing is that seeds that are saved on a small scale by small scale seed savers, their viability is far better, because the processing of seeds with large scale companies is quite brutal. The machinery that they use to process the seeds is quite brutal and can cause a lot of damage to the seeds. So you might buy a packet of 10 seeds for your £2.99 and find that only 3 of them germinate because they've been mistreated.
Yeah, because it goes, as you say, it goes through this kind of process really. But everything that's saved here, generally the feedback we've had from library members is that the seeds germinate really well, like 100%. which is an amazing thing because they haven't been kind of handled too much. They've been saved by somebody, they've been brought into the library, they've been given to somebody. So it makes a big difference. So, I mean, the library really came about at one of our visioning days from the permaculture group here in Lampeter. And there was an opportunity to put forward new ideas, wasn't there? And I stood up. I did wonder whether I should, but I did stand up and suggest, how about having a seed library? And to my amazement, there was a lot of support for that. People really, really cottoned on to that idea. And we had an initial meeting. I seem to remember I was actually in this room doing it, and worked out all the details of how we could actually start one, and what we needed.
Because I think we knew we needed to design the library, thinking along permaculture principles. We wanted to have things in place before we actually launched. So we took about a year.
It was almost a year, yeah.
Because we knew, I mean, for a start, we knew that we needed to get some more knowledge. Some of us had been trying to save seeds, but we weren't really sure about how to go about doing that systematically. And we wanted them to offer that kind of training to other people in the area as well, so that we had a group of people ready to start thinking about how they might try to save seeds. We're lucky here in Lampeter because we've got the Victoria Hall here as a place where we could sort of store a library, because we wanted to create a physical library. I mean, it's possible, depending on where you are, you can create a virtual library. It doesn't always have to be a sort of physical thing, but we had the chance to create a physical library here. And we wanted to sort of have systems in place, didn't we, so that we could be clear about where the seeds had been saved and the conditions that the plants had been grown in, and could keep track of that. And so that if there were particular problems with some seeds that came in, we'd have a way of sort of tracing those back and sort of sorting out what the problem might have been. Or if people come into the library saying, I live up at 1,000 feet, have you got anything that does well at 1,000 feet?
Yeah.
We've got something that will sort of enable them to find out what in the library might work for them, which has sort of worked, hasn't it?
It has. And I mean, it's actually widened people's knowledge, if you like, as to what they could potentially grow, because they might not have thought they could do that and grow it outside and needed a polytunnel. But there's a lot of things that actually then prompted them to have a go. I thought that was really good, because part of it is getting people to experiment as well, trying new things.
Yeah, and having seeds that are locally adapted means that hopefully more people experiment and have success, and then get hooked on growing food
and saving seeds.
Yeah, because the whole idea is about building local food resilience and having as many people as possible growing food and growing a whole range of food that does well here. That may have been traditional crops, may have been things they've tried before, may be things from other parts of the world that are grown well in similar conditions that also do well here. So it's really expanding the variety of what food can be grown here.
Yes, definitely. Well, when we first started, we thought we'd better find out how to save seeds, didn't we? As you said, we've already been doing it ourselves, but didn't feel we was that knowledgeable.
No.
We still had gaps, didn't we? And part of that, we found Sue Stickland, who's the author of Back Garden Seed Saving. And she's not very far away from us, was she? She was up in Newtown, so we was very lucky that we found her and she was willing to do a workshop for us up there. So the permaculture group very kindly funded a number of us going up there for a day's workshop with Sue to try and absorb all her knowledge.
Some of it
Some of it anyway. and be able to bring that back here to Lampeter, to be able to then cascade that to other people. Because we then wanted to run our own workshop based on some of the simpler seed saving methods to start with, something we felt confident in doing.
So Sue wasn't just teaching us about seed saving, she was giving us tips and pointers on how to run an introductory seed saving workshop for other people, wasn't she?
Yeah. So we did 2 of those, didn't we? Introductory seed saving workshops,
which were really well attended. I mean, there was such a buzz on the day of each of those, wasn't there?
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
Lots of people excited about the idea of saving seeds.
Yeah, and realising how simple some of it was. That was the thing. People not realising that actually, just when you cut a tomato up, that you can eat that tomato and then you save those bits in the middle and they're your seeds.
Yeah.
And it's really that simple, and that was really an exciting thing, I think, for a lot of people, wasn't it?
And doing the workshops really built our confidence in our own knowledge and our familiarity with the techniques, didn't it?
Yeah, definitely. The more we did it, the more confident we became. So now when we get questions, if anybody asks, well, how do you do this, we feel a lot more confident. And if we haven't got that knowledge, we've got Sue's book as our reference, and we've got a couple of other books as well that we can call upon. So we don't pretend to know everything.
And there are members of the library who've got a lot of experience as well, and we can draw on their knowledge, can't we?
Yeah. I mean, we've got some very experienced growers that have come on board as well. So it's great.
Yeah. So those workshops enabled us to feel we had the knowledge to start the library, and that we had a sort of wider base of people who got the idea and would also feel confident about trying to save seeds, so that we'd have some donations to go into the library in its first year. And we spent that first year busily saving seeds ourselves, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, because I think we got some donations from Real Seeds. We certainly got a lot of donations of information. Real Seeds were really generous about sharing, saying that any of the information on their website is open to anyone to have. So in the beginning we used quite a lot of that to hand out to people at the workshops, didn't we? But in the end it was pretty much all stuff that had been grown around here that went into the library in its infancy.
I mean, Sue gave us some donations as well from some of her saved seeds, which are not that a million miles away from here, 50 miles away. So she gave us some to get us started on some of the varieties we didn't have, which was very useful. And then, of course, we all saved as well, encouraged other people to bring in donations, and we was quite amazed by the response. The library drawers were quite full up, weren't they? Which is really good.
And speaking of the library drawers, this was a set of second-hand card index drawers that Transition Lampeter actually bought for us to store the library in. So that they were in effect donated to us. The seed envelopes, this was part of what we decided we needed to have as part of our system of keeping the seeds and recording their provenance, and also knowing how long they would be viable for. So Kathy designed a stamp that would go on a set of wage packet envelopes, those interesting historical items, that record the type of seed, the variety, which seed library member it's been saved by, the year it was saved in, if possible something about the conditions that it was grown in. And when people join the library, they actually fill in a simple membership form that they give us information on about where they're growing, sort of things like the elevation and the soil type, whether it's windy, whether it's wet, which
mainly wet,
and how exposed it is, what aspect it is, things like that could inform people when they're choosing.
Whether it's grown inside as well, whether it's in a polytunnel or outdoors.
And then any sort of specific issues about sowing notes? I mean, if something's tricky to germinate, something like that.
Yeah, don't give up.
So the envelopes and the stamp were an initial sort of investment that we had to make, and the permaculture group, in addition to funding our training with Sue, gave us some money towards these. The training workshops that we offered to other people, we offered those on a returnable deposit basis, on the idea that we wanted people to commit to coming but not feel that they had to pay anything if they couldn't. But if they then wanted to donate that deposit to us, they were then free to at the end of the workshop. And a lot of the deposits were actually then donated to the library.
Yeah.
So that gave us some additional funds. And we bought some sealable plastic boxes as well, just to make sure that the seeds are kept dry inside these drawers. So all in all, it was about £100 to start up, something like that.
I think it's probably a little bit more. If we think of Sue's training, it's probably about 160 all told. But I mean, that's not a lot of money really for a day's training with somebody. All the equipment, and we kept everything quite low key, didn't we? Everything's just done on our computers at home. The system of the library membership, we have forms rather than cards, and they're just all kept in a folder. So it's a manual system. We don't make anything too complicated. Low tech.
But of course, if anyone else wanted to do something that's a bit more high tech, particularly if you were, I don't know, if you were in a situation where everyone was more dispersed and it worked more easily to have, as it were, a virtual library, it might work to have a sort of virtual membership base and a virtual database for seeds, for things like that. It really depends on your particular situation, what you think is going to work.
Yeah, I mean, there's some libraries, isn't there, that do postal.
Like on the Shetlands.
On the Shetlands, that's right, because that was somebody we looked at their system, how they were doing it. But there aren't that many libraries around.
No. Not seed co-ops, aren't there?
There's seed co-ops. There's also community interest companies in London. There's a couple. But there's not that many that are kind of organised like we are.
I think the other benefit of having a physical place, I mean, the library is, as it were, open twice a month at the local People's Market in Victoria Hall. And that's not just about people bringing in seeds or withdrawing seeds, it's a focus for people to come and have a talk about how they're getting on with growing stuff, problems that they've had, ask questions about germinating. It's just a real place to exchange information and build the excitement and build the community of people who are interested in growing and saving seeds. I mean, I think that's really helped the library to grow.
Oh, goodness me, yes. I mean, every time the library is there, we sign up new members. Every single time it's open. And you think, that's pretty amazing. There's always somebody new coming on board. And when you think we've been going now for 2 years, and we've got, getting on towards 200 members, and we're only in a small population town. And I think that's, it obviously captures people's imagination as well, I think.
And part of the reason we're making this video is because it's captured people's imagination further afield. And, rather than expand our carbon footprint by travelling to give talks, we thought this would be a good way of sharing it.
That's what we're about, isn't it? Sharing.
So, what else have we been up to?
Well, we've tried to put on seed saving workshops each year, haven't we? So that people who've joined the library newly can have some basic training if they want it. But we've also tried to develop the training in the workshops. So we've moved on from the easy to save seeds like peas and beans and tomatoes to give people a bit more information about the the harder stuff like biennial crops like brassicas and things like squashes that are a bit more tricky to isolate and pollinate so they come true. And we've been really lucky. Sue Stickland has come back each year for one workshop where she's done some of the introductory stuff and then led a session on something a bit more in depth. But then we've always had the hands-on sorting seeds and processing them, which everyone really enjoys.
Over cake and tea.
And we've moved our workshops to Denmark Farm, which is a nearby conservation farm. So we're doing things more in collaboration with them. They've given us some space to create a seed garden there and some seed, sort of growing for seed areas, so that people have got a chance to see what plants look like when they carry on their full life cycle and become seed heads, because that seems to fit in nicely with the kind of things that Denmark Farm's about.
I think people are very surprised when they actually see how big a plant will grow before it flowers and goes to seed. Things like chard and kale and things, how big they grow, and lettuce. I think that people are a little bit surprised when they realise how big it grows.
So we've done that. We've been working with the Gaia Foundation, haven't we?
Yeah, Gaia Foundation Seed Sovereignty Programme. We've got links with our Seed Sovereignty Programme. Because we are trying, our aims are the same. They're working towards trying to encourage people to save open pollinated seeds. They're looking more at people doing this on a commercial basis, but they're also keen to encourage community schemes like ours. And a more specific link with them is to do with saving cereal grains, local cereal grain seeds that have been grown in Wales in the past, but have almost disappeared. And it's a project trying to encourage the growing of more cereals, again to do with food security, food sovereignty, and encouraging more mixed farming in the area. So we have got some grains that we're going to, in the future, try and bulk up to make more seed available to be grown on a more sustainable basis, basically.
Because if you've got several dozen members of the seed library, each growing a small area of grain, that mounts up quite quickly, doesn't it?
It does. So that's an exciting venture that we're involved in at the moment.
And it's really exciting just learning about the history of some of these grains and where they've grown before and what they've been used for, and making contact with the farmers that are actually trying to grow some now commercially.
Yes, and looking at all the old machinery that is still in existence, that is being brought out of mothballs and is going to be put to good use again in the future. So it is quite an exciting thing, and it's also an interesting, community-wise it's interesting, and it's basically part of Welsh culture that hopefully we're going to have a small contribution into bringing these things back. So what else have we been involved in?
Well, we've sort of supported other local groups. I mean, we have an Incredible Edible group in Lampeter, which is about growing vegetable and edible foods in public places for anyone to harvest and eat. And we've generally provided the seeds for most of the sites in Lampeter. We took our talk to the Wales Incredible Edible gathering, didn't we?
We did. That was good.
And that's seeded another library in Porthmadog that's being run by Incredible Edible. We've given various talks around Wales, haven't we?
We have. Which is one of the main reasons we're making this video, because we've been travelling quite a distance to do talks, because people have learnt about our seed library. we've been into Powys and where in Llandrindod, Wales, where they've now started a seed library. We've done talks at the Paramethi Cymru Land Workers Alliance Convergence. We did a workshop there, which was really exciting because we'd got people from all over Wales, and that, I think, has sparked an awful lot of interest in other areas. I feel really confident that made quite an impact. And various gardening groups, and even had to do a talk in Aberystwyth recently with Aber Food Surplus, which is an organisation that uses so-called wet food waste to develop community initiatives for community meals, etc. And it would be a great place for them to have a seed library because they've got a premise that's open to the public all the time, and it fits in again with the food security idea of our initiative. So, if you're ready to start up your own seed library, if you really, really want to do this, all you need is a lot of enthusiasm. You need to join in with some sort of community group because it's pretty tough to do it on your own. Community groups can be anything ranging from gardening clubs, allotment societies, schools, WI, anything, just you need a group of enthusiastic people.
You don't need a lot of money.
No.
It's amazing what people will share and donate when they get caught with the excitement of a good idea. It doesn't have to be complicated. Start small.
It could be a shoebox with some seeds in it, and it could be kept in a local shop. It could be in the actual library. It could be anywhere. Depends what's available to people.
Or it could be at the end of an email and you post things out to people.
Yeah.
There's 1,000 ways of doing it, but if you want any more information about how we managed our seed library, how we started up and how we run it, we have an e-booklet that you can obtain by sending an email to our email address, which you will see on the screen.
bankcadairlambert@outlook.com.
Thank you.
The sound of success.
I'm Andrea.
And I'm Kathy.
And I'm Julia. Diolch yn fawr I chi gyd am gwrando I ni. Thank you very much for listening to us.
And good luck.
Good luck.